a society which is plagued with violence and crime and murder? Can you see the answer? They said, can you build a barrier to protect us from them, that they cannot reach us? You see the answer now? That they cannot reach us. If you build the barrier, we will be prepared to pay. Yeah, I don't need your money. What Allah has given to you is more important, more valuable. Bring for me blocks of iron. And he built a barrier with blocks of iron. And remember, the Quran tells us that iron is a metal which did not form part of the original constitution of the earth. وَأَنزَلْنَا الْحَدِيدِ, and we sent down iron. And to which Maulana Ansari responds and says this probably means that iron came down from an extraterrestrial source, like a meteorite. And so what you need to build a barrier is not something which belongs to this world. If you are to build a barrier to protect yourself from that wicked world, you need something which comes from another world to build a barrier. Are you following me? So he built the barrier, and then he put molten copper. And when he had done that, now Gog and Magog could neither penetrate nor could they scale the barrier. But then came that day when the Prophet ﷺ informed us that Allah has now brought down the barrier. Remember? He raised his hands like this. He had a dream. Said, today Allah has made a hole in the barrier. And so Gog and Magog were released in the lifetime of Nabi Muhammad ﷺ. When Gog and Magog are released, the people who are going to suffer the most are who? In the prisons of Abu Ghraib, the Arab. Because the statement was, Waylul lil Arab, woe unto the Arabs. When Gog and Magog are released, they will eventually spread out in all directions. And they take control of the world, in the world order of Gog and Magog, and then they proceed to use their power to oppress. This is Surah Al-Kahf of the Quran, teaching you, explaining to you the world in which you live today. Why will you not go to the Quran? Seek Allah's forgiveness for having neglected the Quran. And now go to the Quran, and the Quran might explain to you the strange world in which you live today. Power will now be used to oppress. The opposite of Zulkarnain. Power will now be used to wage war on those who follow the religious way of life, who have piety, who are righteous and honest. If he's a Hindu, he'll still wage war on him because he's a pious Hindu. If he's a Christian, he'll still wage war on him because he's a man of piety and righteousness. But the Muslim, he's the one who will face the brunt of the war. So the war on Islam which is taking place in the world today is explained in Surah Al-Kahf. And then there are those who have nothing. Nothing except the clothes on their backs. And even those who have nothing, even they, this wicked world order will attack them and take from them the little that they have. This is what is happening in Haiti today. And Haiti is around the corner, so you cannot say you did not know. Haiti is one of the poorest places on the face of the earth today. And Haiti is not poor by accident. The reason why Haiti is the poorest place in the world today is because 200 years ago, Haiti slapped slapped them on their faces 200 years ago. A powerful slap on their faces. They've never forgiven Haiti for that. And so for 200 years now they've been punishing Haiti, and they're still punishing Haiti. A people who have nothing, and yet you're attacking them and taking from them even the little that they have. Zulkarnain was the opposite of that. Can we recognize these Gog and Magog people? Who are they? Last month we turned to Surah Al-Anbiya, and we turned to 2 verses of Surah Al-Anbiya where Allah speaks about a town. Remember? He destroyed the town. Remember? He expelled the people of the town. Remember? And then he banned them from ever returning to reclaim that town as their own. Do you remember? And then he said that these people will return to reclaim their town when? When Gog and Magog are released. And they spread out in all directions. Then you will see this amazing spectacle of these people who were expelled from that town by Allah, banned from ever returning to reclaim the town as their own. You will see it before your eyes. You will see these people returning to reclaim that town as their own. Which town is it? وَحَرَامٌ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ أَهْلَكْنَاهَا أَنَّهُمْ لَا يَرْجِعُونَ حَتَّى إِذَا فُتِحَتْ يَأْجُوجُ وَمَأْجُوجُ وَهُمْ مِنْ كُلِّ حَدَبٍ يَنْسِلُونَ. We said the town is Jerusalem. Remember? Sheikh Ali Mustafa agrees with me. Yes. The town is Jerusalem. And so when you see the Jews returning to reclaim the Holy Land as their own, as they have done, then the Quran is saying to you that those who have made possible the return of the Jews to the Holy Land, namely the world order which controls the world today, in which Washington is the leader, that's Gog and Magog. That's the world order of Gog and Magog. The Quran is saying that to you. So you know who you have to protect yourself from. Huh? You should be seeking to protect yourselves from them. If you will forgive me for reminding one more time, we should not be seeking to worship at the altar of a US visa. No. We should be seeking to protect ourselves from that. Now what did Maulana Fadl Rahman Ansari, rahimahullah, have to say on that subject? When I was here last month, I referred to this book, Gog and Magog and the State of Israel. But I was referring to an earlier edition. And I said in my remarks that from what was written in this book, it appears clear that Maulana Ansari also held the view that the town was Jerusalem. But I went back home and I got this copy, which is from Maulana Ansari's library. I have been blessed by being given the entire library that he had. I have it with me. And this is the later edition. And I want to read to you what this man says. He begins the book by saying that the town is Jerusalem. That's the most important point he makes in the whole book. And now listen to what he says about Maulana Ansari. At the end, I must acknowledge my most sincere thanks to Maulana Fadl Rahman Ansari, whose interpretation and explanation of the verse relating to the return of the people to the city which was destroyed, referred to in the preceding pages, inspired me to make research and to write on this subject. Now it's plain and clear. Maulana Fadl Rahman Ansari rahimahullah, he also held the view that the town was Jerusalem. And so now we know the corruption of our society the escalating crime of our society, the murders, the anarchy, the mayhem, the kidnapping. These things are not happening by accident. This is part of the corruption of the world by God and by God. Now we know no one can solve that. No one. Now we know police reform bill or no police reform bill is going to get worse and yet worse. The Messenger of Allah said, he climbed to the roof of a house and he looked out. This is Medina. He said, I see Hajj falling on your rooftops like raindrops. I see Hajj falling on your rooftops like raindrops. So they asked, O Messenger of Allah, what is Hajj? He says, killing and slaughter, murder. And so he anticipated what we are having here today. It cannot be solved. Stop, because this is God and Allah. Well, then what should we do? Let us tell you that and we'll end the lecture. How do we respond to it today, which is already so dangerous, and to it tomorrow, which is going to be worse than today? What should we do? What does the Quran tell us? I leave behind me two things. So long as you hold on to them, you will never go astray. The Book of Allah and my Sunnah. It's not enough to preach and preach and preach. You heard enough lectures already. When will we put it into practice? When will we create a living model of Islam? The Quran and the Sunnah. So we can invite Port of Spain, come and see, this is Islam. The solution lies in building a barrier between you and that world of crime. That's the first solution. The second solution is that when you build that barrier, you have to build that barrier with that which comes from another world, like iron. And that which came from another world is the Quran. And he who lived the Quran, the Sunnah. That's the solution. They have no other solution. You could climb the highest mountain, you will never find another solution. This is the only one. Surah Al-Kahf is telling you the solution. We have to come together, all of us. Whether you will stand up for Ta'zeem or you don't stand up for Ta'zeem is irrelevant. Don't come to me to argue on those issues, because I am not going to be a part of them. It is irrelevant. We have to come together as a people who will try to establish a society based on the Quran and the Sunnah. And when we build that community, we have to ensure that that community is disconnected from the world of crime that is escalating out there. This is the project of the Muslim village. This is going to be our subject for the next lecture, inshallah. Establishing a Muslim village in the island of Trinidad. This Muslim village comes out of Surah Al-Kahf. I say to you that the 1950s and 1960s were an exciting time to be in Trinidad. When we were little children, and Haji Zainul Khan, the president of the TIA, Jama'atul Taqwiyatul Islam, who is sitting in the back there, he was already a young man. And Dr. Wahid Ali will be here with us next Sunday, inshallah. They will tell you, the 50s and the 60s were